Dad laughed and said, "You just sell cement and nails, your sister deserves a real life." Then took a $50,000 loan in my name. My sister smirked and said, "Relax, you'll earn it back anyway." I stayed silent, but this morning I woke up to 42 missed calls. I never cared much about how I looked. Grease under my nails, cement dust on my clothes, those were the signs of hard work, of a man building something with his own hands. My parents, on the other hand, saw it differently. "Why can't you look presentable like your sister?" my mother would say every time I stopped by their house after work. "You're always covered in dirt like some common laborer." I owned 3 hardware stores, supplying everything from nails to roofing tiles. I spent years working from dawn till dusk, making sure my business thrived. Meanwhile, my sister, Olivia, floated through life like a princess, spending money she never earned. But I never imagined that my own family would rob me blind. It started small. My parents often asked for help, money for home repairs, medical expenses, small things. I never questioned it. When they asked me to get them a second card for my business account, I thought it was for groceries, maybe some emergency purchases. Then came the lie. "Danny, we need a loan," my father said one evening, his voice heavy with false concern. "Your mother's health isn't great, and we have some urgent medical bills." I didn't even think twice. I went to the bank the next morning and co-signed a $50,000 loan under my name. But the money never went to medical bills. They spent it on Olivia. First-class tickets to Paris, a 5-star hotel in the heart of the city, designer clothes, spa treatments. She even sent me a picture from her trip holding a glass of champagne with the caption, "Cheers to a stress-free life." I didn't realize what had happened until I saw my credit card statement. $15,000 from luxury stores in France. $20,000 transferred directly to my parents' account. And the final insult? $10,000 spent on home renovations but not using supplies from my stores. No, they bought everything from my competitors so I wouldn't suspect a thing. I stared at the numbers, my hands trembling with rage. They hadn't just stolen from me. They had betrayed me, laughed behind my back while spending my hard-earned money. And worst of all, they didn't think I'd do anything about it. They were wrong. Olivia wasn't just on a vacation. She had taken her boyfriend and a group of wealthy friends with her, all from high-status families. She had to match their standards, which meant endless shopping sprees where price tags didn't matter. She flaunted designer clothes, high-end jewelry, and extravagant meals, all paid for with my money. And my parents? They knew. They encouraged it. They believed that if Olivia played her cards right, she could marry into money, securing their future along with hers. They had turned my hard work into her golden ticket. I turned on my heel and walked out the door. They thought I would roll over. They thought I would accept it. They had no idea what was coming next. I couldn't sleep that night. The rage boiled inside me, refusing to settle. My own parents had stolen from me not just money but years of sweat and sacrifice. And for what? So Olivia could prance around Europe, pretending she belonged among the wealthy elite? I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the stack of bank statements and receipts. $80,000 in debt. My business was already stretched thin with rising costs, and now I had loan payments I never agreed to. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. How it started. Growing up, it was always Olivia. She was the golden child, the one who had potential, the one who deserved nice things. Meanwhile, I was just the worker. When I was 13, I started working summers at a construction supply yard. While Olivia was shopping at the mall with Mom, I was stacking lumber and unloading cement bags. By the time I graduated high school, I had saved up enough to buy an old truck. My dad laughed when I showed it to him. "Jesus, Danny, couldn't you have picked something that doesn't look like it came from a junkyard?" I didn't care. That truck got me to job sites, helped me pick up materials, and eventually became the first work vehicle for my business. When I opened Henderson's Supply and Build, I did it with my own money, no loans, no handouts. I worked 16-hour days, hauling inventory, making deliveries, doing whatever it took to grow the company. Olivia, on the other hand, was too busy finding herself. She tried college but dropped out after 2 semesters. She tried working for a fashion startup but quit after 3 months because the environment was toxic. Then she decided she wanted to be an influencer. My parents bought her a top-tier camera, paid for photography lessons, even helped her rent a fancy apartment downtown to create content. She never made a dime from it. And yet, when she demanded a luxurious European vacation to network with high-value people, my parents didn't just agree. They stole from me to pay for it. How they hid it. At first, I didn't understand how they had pulled it off. They knew I monitored my business expenses closely, so how did they manage to steal so much without me noticing? Then I looked at the receipts again. They never bought anything from my store. Every single purchase, every bag of cement, every roll of insulation, every gallon of paint was from my competitor. They went out of their way to make sure I wouldn't see the transactions on my inventory logs. I called up an old friend who worked at Baker's Building Supplies, the biggest rival to my company. "Hey Matt," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "We haven't spoken in a while, but I was wondering, have my parents been buying a lot from you lately?" Matt hesitated. Yeah, actually. They placed some huge orders last month. Renovating the house, I think." I swallowed hard. "How much are we talking?" "Well, they spent about $30,000 here. And I know they ordered some high-end fixtures from another supplier." "Why?" My fingers tightened around my phone. "Just curious." I hung up and exhaled shakily. They stole my money to renovate their home, and they did it in a way that made sure none of the profits came back to me. I wasn't just furious anymore. I was done. The final insult. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Their driveway had been repaved. Their front door was new, the windows freshly installed. The house didn't look like it needed any repairs at all. I stepped inside without knocking. My mom was in the kitchen, sipping coffee. She barely glanced at me. "Brian, if you're here to complain again, I don't want to hear it." I dropped the bank statements onto the counter. "Explain." She sighed, setting her cup down with an exaggerated motion. "Oh, Brian, you're still on about this? It's just money. You'll make more." I stared at her in disbelief. "Are you serious?" My dad walked in, adjusting his watch. "Look, son, you need to stop acting like a victim. Family helps each other out. That's how it works." "Help each other out?" I scoffed. "You didn't ask for help. You stole from me. You lied to my face about medical bills while you were blowing my money on Olivia's fantasy life." At that moment, Olivia waltzed in, her hair perfectly styled, her nails freshly manicured. She smirked when she saw me. "Oh God, Brian, are you still whining about that loan?" I turned to her, my hands trembling with barely contained fury. "That loan has my name on it. I'm the one paying it off." She rolled her eyes. "Relax. You run a bunch of hardware stores. You'll be fine." "You mean the same stores you and Mom refused to buy from because you didn't want me to notice?" A flicker of annoyance crossed her face. "Ugh, stop being so dramatic." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You're unbelievable." Olivia leaned against the counter, swirling her iced coffee like she was in a reality TV show. "It's not like we wasted the money, Brian. I needed to make an impression. Do you know how important networking is? I was traveling with people from real money. I couldn't exactly show up in cheap clothes." I gritted my teeth. "So that's what this was about? Playing rich to impress your spoiled friends?" She flipped her hair over her shoulder. "It's called status, Brian. You wouldn't get it." My mother suddenly interjected, her tone softening. "Sweetheart, you have to understand. Olivia has a chance to marry well. If she lands the right husband, it'll benefit all of us." I went still. "You stole my money because you thought Olivia needed it to trap some rich guy?" My father shrugged. "It's an investment in the future, son. You'll see." I looked at all three of them. My entitled sister, my smug father, my dismissive mother. I had spent my whole life breaking my back for this family. And this is how they repaid me? I exhaled slowly and shook my head. "No," I said. "Not anymore." I turned and walked out. They didn't know it yet, but this was the last time they would ever take anything from me. Because I wasn't just leaving. I was about to burn everything down. I didn't go back to my parents' house after that. I didn't answer their calls, didn't reply to their messages. They thought I was just throwing a tantrum. They had no idea I was about to make them regret every single decision that led to this moment. The damage they did. First, I had to assess just how much damage they had done to my business. I spent the next few nights going through my accounts, invoices, and expenses. The loan they tricked me into taking was just the tip of the iceberg. $80,000 in debt under my name. $30,000 spent at my competitor's store, funneling money out of my own business. $20,000 spent on Olivia's luxury vacation. $10,000 on high-end renovations to their house. Meanwhile, my stores were struggling. Inventory was running low. I had pending orders I wasn't sure I could afford to fulfill. My parents had stolen not just my money, they had stolen my future. But I wasn't going to let them win. The first strike. I knew my parents were comfortable. Too comfortable. They thought they were untouchable because they assumed I wouldn't fight back. So I made my first move. I walked into my bank the next morning and froze every single account they had access to. The secondary credit card? Cancelled. The account where I transferred money to help them with bills? Locked. The automatic payments they had set up? Declined. Within hours, my phone blew up. "Mom, Brian, what's going on?" I can't withdraw money. Dad, call me. Now. Olivia, WTF, Brian? My rent payment bounced. I smiled. I wasn't done exposing the lie. Next, I went to visit my accountant and my lawyer. Brian, you should have come to me sooner, my lawyer, Mark, said as he flipped through the loan documents. This is fraud. You have every right to press charges. I had suspected as much. My parents forged some of my signatures on certain documents, particularly where they authorized charges I never agreed to. Can we prove it? I asked. Mark smirked. Oh, absolutely. That night I sent my parents a message. I know what you did. I have the bank statements, the receipts, and the proof of forgery. You have 48 hours to pay back every cent or I take legal action. Silence. Then my dad called. I answered, but I didn't say a word. Brian, son, let's not blow this out of proportion. I laughed coldly. Blow this out of proportion? You stole from me. It's family, he said, his voice dripping with fake patience. You need to understand, eh? No, I cut him off. You need to understand. Either you find a way to pay me back or I take this to court. Do you really want to do this? His voice dropped, taking on that authoritative tone he used when I was younger. Think about what this will do to the family. I gritted my teeth. I did. That's why I'm giving you a choice. He exhaled sharply. Fine. We'll figure something out. But I knew him too well. He wasn't going to pay me back. He was going to try and outmaneuver me. The second strike. 2 days later, I found out exactly how. A friend who worked at the local real estate office sent me a message. Hey man, just a heads up. Your parents have been asking about refinancing their house. They're trying to pull out equity. Thought you should know. I clenched my jaw. Of course. They were going to take out another loan to cover their mess and probably make me pay for that too, one way or another. I wasn't going to let it happen. So I made another call to my lawyer. Mark, I want to file a fraud report. And I want to put a lien on their house. He whistled. You're really going all in, huh? They stole from me, I said simply. I'm just returning the favor. The third strike. By the end of the week, my parents were officially under investigation for financial fraud. Their accounts were frozen. Their loan applications were denied. Their house was now tied up in legal complications. And Olivia? She lost her apartment. She called me in tears, screaming about how I had ruined her life. You did that yourself, I told her calmly. You and Mom and Dad. But I didn't do anything, she wailed. I laughed. Exactly. The final move. I wasn't done yet. With my parents out of the picture financially, I refocused on my business. I met with my suppliers and renegotiated my contracts. I cut costs where I could, secured a short-term business loan under my own terms and started rebuilding what they had nearly destroyed. And then, just to twist the knife, I made sure my parents' social circle knew exactly why they were struggling. Word spread fast. By the time my parents realized what had happened, their so-called friends had abandoned them. No more fancy dinner parties. No more business favors. No more free handouts. They had burned every bridge. And I had made sure they had nothing left to stand on. The beginning of their fall. After I took legal action, my parents and Olivia tried to pretend everything was fine. They acted as if this was just a temporary inconvenience, something they could smooth over with a few apologies and fake promises. But reality doesn't work like that. My father was the first to crack under the pressure. He had always been the proud, confident one, the man who looked down on my work, the one who told me I'd never amount to anything. But now? He was a financial pariah. Once word spread that he had been caught committing fraud, his friends and business connections cut him off immediately. No more favors. No more golf club invitations. No more easy deals. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that he had tried to secure a loan through an old friend. The friend laughed in his face. You had a son who could have set you up for life, and instead you robbed him? MOM breaks down. My mother wasn't much better off. She had always been the type to maintain appearances. The woman who cared more about how our family looked than how we actually treated each other. When she realized that their friends were turning on them, she panicked. She started calling relatives, sobbing about how I had betrayed them, how I was being cruel, and punishing them over a misunderstanding. It didn't work. Most of them already knew the truth. Instead of sympathy, she got cold replies. You stole from your own son, Linda. What did you expect? You did this to yourself. You always spoiled Olivia, and now you're paying the price. I later found out she even tried to ask my grandmother for money. Grandma's response? Sell your house. You have no right to ask for help after what you did. Olivia loses everything. And then there was Olivia. Unlike my parents, she had never faced real consequences in her life. She thought she could charm her way out of this, that people would just keep supporting her like they always had. But when the rent on her luxury apartment bounced, her rich friends ditched her immediately. The moment they realized she wasn't actually wealthy, that she had been living on stolen money, they cut ties. She had built her entire identity around looking expensive, about being part of a world she was never truly in. And now, she was broke, homeless, and completely alone. The final humiliation. A month later, I got a text from Olivia. "Olivia, Brian, I'm sorry. Can we talk?" I ignored it. Then my mother called. She was hysterical. "Brian, we're losing the house. We have nowhere to go." I took a deep breath. "You should have thought about that before stealing from me," I said coldly. "Brian, please," she begged. "We're family." I laughed. "That never mattered when you were spending my money, did it?" She burst into tears. I didn't care. They had made their choices, and now they were paying for them. The house is gone. A few weeks later, their house was officially foreclosed. They had no savings left. No one willing to help. Nothing. I heard that they ended up moving into a tiny rental, something way beneath the luxury lifestyle they had tried to maintain. And Olivia, she had to get a job for the first time in her life. Last I heard, she was working retail, dealing with rude customers and earning barely enough to survive. I smiled when I found out. She deserved every second of it. 1 year later, a full year had passed since I walked away from my family for good. A year since I refused to be their victim any longer. And my life? It was better than ever. My business had recovered and expanded. I opened a new store across town, one that quickly became even more successful than the first. I hired more staff, renegotiated contracts with better suppliers, and finally had the financial security I had worked so hard for. Most importantly, I no longer had to clean up their messes. Every cent I made was mine, not a safety net for people who never respected me. But my parents and Olivia? They were still living the consequences of their betrayal. What happened to them? After their house was foreclosed, they had to move into a small rental apartment in a less desirable part of town. My father, once so proud and respected, was jobless and ignored. No one wanted to associate with a man who stole from his own son and then lost everything. My mother had tried to maintain her social life, but gossip spreads fast. The women she once considered friends now treated her like an outsider, whispering behind her back about how they had heard things, about the way she and Dad had scammed their own son. And Olivia, she had fallen the hardest. Without access to unlimited money, she had lost all her rich friends. The moment they realized she wasn't actually wealthy, that her luxurious lifestyle had been funded by stolen money, they cut her off. She had to take a real job for the first time in her life. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she was working retail, spending her days folding clothes and dealing with angry customers. The same girl who used to mock me for having dirty hands was now working for minimum wage. I should have felt sorry for her, but I didn't. She had laughed while spending my money. She had called me dramatic when I confronted her. Now she was drowning in the mess she helped create. The last attempt. One evening, after closing up my store, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I already knew who it was before I opened the message. "Mom, Brian, please. I know we made mistakes, but we're struggling. Can we just talk?" A few seconds later, another message. "Dad, we're still your parents. Whatever happened in the past, we need to move forward as a family." And then the final message. "Olivia, Brian, I messed up. I know that now. I just want to talk. Maybe meet up, please?" I stared at my phone for a long time, letting their words sink in. They thought they could just come back. They thought a few empty apologies would make me forget how they had betrayed me, stolen from me, humiliated me. They thought I would save them. They were wrong. My final response. I sat down on the bench outside my store, feeling the weight of their words. I could still hear my father's dismissive voice telling me I would never be successful. I could still remember my mother calling me dramatic when I discovered the truth. I could still see Olivia, rolling her eyes, acting like my suffering was a joke. They were desperate now. Not because they regretted their actions, but because they had lost everything. And they wanted me to fix it. I exhaled slowly, then typed my response. No, you're not my family anymore. Then I blocked their numbers. For good. A new life without them. As I put my phone away, I looked up at the bright neon sign above my store. Henderson Supply and Build. I built this. I made this happen. Without their help. Despite them. For the first time in my life I was truly free. And it felt good. Final update. Hey everyone. It's been a year since everything went down, and I wanted to give you all an update, and maybe get your thoughts on something that's been on my mind. First off, I just want to say thank you to everyone who followed my story and supported me when I was at my lowest. A lot of you gave me advice that helped me stay strong when I was doubting myself, and honestly, I don't think I'd be where I am now without that. So where am I now? Thriving. My business is stronger than ever. I have financial security, and for the first time in my life, I'm not carrying my family's weight on my back. Cutting them off was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best decision I ever made. But here's the thing. A few days ago, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Olivia. She wasn't angry. She wasn't demanding. She just said, "I get it now. I really do. And I'm sorry. I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted to say that." I didn't respond. I don't know if I ever will. But it got me thinking. Did I do the right thing? I know they hurt me. I know they stole from me, used me, humiliated me. And I know they only reached out before because they needed something. But what if, after losing everything, Olivia really did change? Reddit, tell me straight. Was I right to cut them off forever? Or am I being too harsh? Top comments. First comment. Bro, they didn't just mess up. They ruined your life and didn't care. The only reason Olivia is apologizing now is because she hit rock bottom. You did the right thing. Stay no contact. Second comment. Let's not forget that Olivia was laughing while spending your money. She mocked you, called you dramatic, and never thought twice about what she did. Actions have consequences. She's just feeling them now. Third comment. Dude, if a random stranger scammed you for $80,000, would you ever talk to them again? No. Your family is worse because they were supposed to love you. You owe them nothing. Fourth comment. I get why you're questioning yourself. You're a good person. But good people don't let themselves get used. Olivia understands now? Cool. Let her live with that realization, and you live your best life. So what do you guys think? Am I heartless? Or just finally free? Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the responses. I think I already knew my answer. I just needed to hear it from people who don't have an agenda. No contact stays. Thanks. Reddit.